Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl Treaty LPC here for the new episode of Self-Awareness Podcast. I have a dope person with me today. She is absolutely amazing. I've been checking her out online recently, and she's gonna really be able to bless you guys, especially if you're going through some really tough times right now. If you're trying to get over a breakup, you're in the middle of a breakup, whatever the case may be. I have with me today Kiara Lasha. She is an author, and she is also the owner of the F Him company. She's going to dive in and tell us a little bit about her journey and her story, and share some of information that is really going to be helpful to anyone that is just going through a struggle right now with their relationship. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Awareness Podcast, Miss Kiara Lasha. Hey, Kiara, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Hey guys. I'm doing amazing. Today is just a wonderful day. I feel good. I'm excited to be here today. So let's dive into some questions.
Awesome. Well, we could actually just start by diving right in. What led you to start the F Him company like that? I was just looking at a lot of your merch and all of that or whatever. Like, your story, it seems really, really awesome. And I just wanted to share, tell a little bit about your background and what led you to start the company.
Okay. All right. Very, very interesting story, but not too interesting where I'm sure a lot of women wouldn't hear some similar aspects. So I was in an 8-year relationship. For the first 3 months, that man was the man of my dreams. Anything I could have wrote down and said, this is what I want in a man, he was that. Okay. He was perfect. Came right in, paying bills, excellent with my son, romantic. I mean, just a dream guy. Well, it lasted for 3 months, like I said. After that relationship went totally crazy. I started to question myself because his behaviors out of nowhere changed. I started to wonder, was it me? And then we hit another phase where he just completely started going, doing the cheating thing and the lying, et cetera, et cetera. So that continued to go on and on and on, where we would be perfect again. Then it would be, oh my God, he's changing. What is it about me? Am I doing something wrong? And then we're going down into the, okay, we're just completely done. That lasted for approximately 8 years. And it wasn't until about, I would say, year 6 that I learned about what narcissism was. Sorry.
Gotcha.
So when I started to read about it, and I learned about the 3 phases of what it's like to be in a relationship with a narcissist, it looked exactly like my story. Wow. Exactly like my relationship. And so when I got that education, I was just like, oh my God, it was never me. This is what this person is. And I can imagine how many women are probably going through this same exact situation. And so eventually when I got to a strong place, because you have to rebuild yourself when you're dealing with the narcissist, it can kind of it can kind of dampen you a little bit. So once I got to a place of rebuilding myself, I'm like, I have to help other women. The only way I could have actually gotten away out of that situation is if I said, F him. So, so that is why the name of my company is exactly that. I know that women have to say F him and shift the focus from him to themselves in order to A, get out of the situation, and B, get back to a place where they're in love with themselves.
Right. Wow. I mean, I would just say, I really love, when I first saw, what you did when we first connected, I was just like, wow, F Him journal. Okay, this is what is this? I want to explore this more. And I think that, a lot of us tend to get trapped in relationships with people who are narcissists. Absolutely. Because it's a lot of it out there. But some of those signs, what do you think were some of the signs you missed in your relationship, before you figured out at year 6 that, yeah, maybe I'm married to or in a relationship with a narcissist? What were some of the signs you feel like you missed?
Honestly, I think the number one thing that I absolutely miss is those grand gestures, right? Some people can be good people. I consider myself to be a great person, but I never really go on how someone's not authentic, so they just do this big old thing for you and they just go over the top. I totally miss that. Wow. Because I was in traumatic situations or toxic relationships before, when this new person came in and doing all these grand gestures, it was like a breath of fresh air at the time, going directly over my head of what was actually happening. So that was the first thing that kind of just sucked me in, right? And then he was just very good at just switching up stories, almost to the point where back then I would notice that he would say something, and then the next time he said it, it would be different. But it never really dawned on me, like, okay, well, maybe he just, maybe I interpreted it wrong, or maybe he just meant something else. It was just always little things like that. But I think the most thing was just like, wait, this person is going too over the top. Like, you just met me. Why are you doing all of this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think that that's something like those really, a lot of what I see it with narcissists is when they do something that's hurtful, whether they're gaslighting you, which we can get into, or whether or not they're just being verbally or mentally abusive in some way, they tend to love bomb after the fact.
Right.
Is that something you were familiar with?
Absolutely. Anytime I would catch him into something like a lie or him cheating, we'd go through this phase where, for one, he'd feel like what I'm seeing or what I'm experiencing is just totally not true. But the moment I got to a point where I want to leave, he turns back into that romantic person that I thought he was in the first 3 months of our relationship. So they re-enter that love bombing stage, not because they're apologetic, not because, they want to actually change it or fix it, but because you're what they call supply, and you're supplying them with something, in some form or fashion, and they don't want you to leave. So the love bombing starts again.
Yeah. A lot of people get trapped there. I think that's what keeps pulling a lot of people back into the relationship. Like, I've worked with a lot of clients that have dealt with narcissists. I had a client last week that was definitely dealing with someone that I could see the signs of narcissism, but as a therapist, I have to remain impartial. I have to stay in this place of like neutrality, where it's like, this is your relationship. You have to figure it out yourself, but you could see those signs of, that manipulation that goes into trying to make you feel like you're absolutely crazy, and so like, so get into that point.
Yeah. They are perfect at it. When I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent 8 years in this situation. But during that time frame, it really is a hard situation to get out of. It really is a mental trapment. It's not really necessarily physical, where he's blocking you from actually leaving the apartment or leaving your home. It's mentally, he has you entrapped. And eventually you're looking for a way out, but you're totally in a maze.
Right. So what helped you get to that point, or what was it that helped you say F him?
I honestly feel as though if I did not come across the facts, right, of what was taking place in my life, I would have stayed there. I had to know what it was that I was looking at and what I was dealing with in order to prepare myself to actually escape, because I feel like I just escaped something. I don't believe I would have been able to do that without the tools and the education about what was actually taking place. Once I got that education and that information, it was a moment of just rebuilding my love, asking myself, Kiara, is this something you want to deal with? Is this love, someone treating you like this? I mean, it got to the point where I would literally cry every single day. And I just had to wake up one day and be like, do you want to cry? This may seem dramatic, but what helped me was, I think I started to ask myself, do I want to spend my last day on earth in this situation? And that became a huge fear of mine, because I knew if I stayed with him, you never know when you're going to leave this earth, right?
Right. Yeah.
I knew that if I stayed with him, though, and something ended up happening where it was my time to go, whatever day that was, I knew that the day before I was a miserable person. So I eventually said, whenever that day is, I don't want to be miserable. I don't want my last days spent on earth being miserable. And I knew if I was with him, it would have been.
Right. Yeah. it takes a lot to get to that point. Like I could
It does.
definitely understand you being in that space. I'm thinking about some toxic relationships that I've had with narcissists in the past, and that way of thinking about like how many days am I spending happy versus how many days I'm feeling sad and crying.
Exactly.
You have to start
Exactly.
to think about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you decided, you hit your breaking point, you educated yourself, on the fact that this is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a narcissist and nothing's going to change in this situation.
Right. Mhm.
What steps did you take after that to escape from the situation? Because we have a lot of women who are stuck still.
So, as I was stating before, ultimately what helped me leave the relationship is the fact that I did everything I could to get my own money so that I can afford to leave the relationship. Because with him as the breadwinner, it was kind of hard for me to leave physically. Although I left mentally and emotionally,
Mm,
physically, I just didn't have those finances, right? And I didn't have someone else's house that I can go to. So
yeah.
I did everything in my power to get enough income so that I can put me a down payment on an apartment and get me an air mattress, girl, and I was out of there.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do to get free. It
Yeah,
takes a lot,
exactly.
and a lot of
Exactly.
women are scared to step out there. A lot of times I feel like a lot of women stay in relationships where someone is the breadwinner or someone is treating them poorly in those circumstances because of the fact that financially, they're to being taken care of, or they feel like they're in a situation where maybe they can't take care of themselves because they've been so used to someone else taking care of them. So,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah, I just had to get out of there. I started telling girls that it was better to sleep on an air mattress than to cry inside of a king size bed. And baby, I was
exactly.
gone.
Oh, that's taking me to future talking about, you want to cry in a Honda or whatever
Exactly.
luxury vehicle he said. I'd personally rather cry in my Honda. Well, I have a maximum of that.
Exactly.
But yeah. So you made the great escape and then you decided to be the Harriet Tubman of your era and go back to get women who were still stuck by creating this path, this, journal to help them. And I know you have a lot of other products and stuff, definitely, but I want to know how did you come up with the idea for the journal and how does it help women or help people go on this path towards
Okay.
healing?
Yeah, great question. So, with the journal itself, I kind of just looked back and said, what was it that I could have used that could
Mm,
probably have helped me leave sooner, or that could help me better just deal with the situation until I could leave? And I thought, because I'm an author too, I love writing. I
mm,
thought that would be the best way to compact all this information that I spent about a year and a half researching and learning about this person,
mm,
compacted inside of this book. Writing was a release for me, so it was almost a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can not only release my emotions and my feelings, I can do it in a way where a woman can read. She can, jot down her feelings and emotions. She can actually learn some stuff about what she's going through. I wanted to put all of that into one
mm.
one one piece. You know what I mean? So that's how I got the idea of the journal.
Gotcha. So with this particular journal, I know one of the things that I think when I was doing some research, it said, there was a link on about self-awareness. And obviously, the name of this
Uh,
podcast kind of being that,
yeah.
how does the journal lead people on that path to self-awareness?
So there's quite a few journals. Sorry, there's quite a few journal prompts inside of the journal that
Hmm.
kind of ask you questions in order to self-reflect.
Okay.
Because a lot of times we don't come across the questions that ask us, what was it about this person that attracted you to them? Why
Mm,
was it so hard for you to leave? What was still pulling you in? I needed people to understand that there's a portion of it where I had to take accountability for
mm,
myself being in the situation. I didn't want to shift the whole blame on him because then that would prohibit me from growing, right? Because if
right.
you point the finger completely at the other person, once that person may or may not get themselves together, you're still stuck with a version of you that you were left. And so I didn't
Mm,
want that to happen. So I wanted them to self-reflect and answer questions, because a lot of times I really didn't know at first, before I asked myself these questions, what was it about this person that made it attracted me to them, made it hard for me to leave, just different things of that nature.
Gotcha.
I was in a toxic relationship right before I got to him. So it didn't dawn on me until I asked these questions, like, okay, how did you get here? Now, the person wasn't him, and he wasn't doing the things that he was doing. But a lot of times when we're in other toxic relationships, we just want somebody good, right? And so it completely went over my head that he probably wasn't the best person, because he had all those grand gestures. But that's something that I didn't realize until I was going back and asking myself these questions.
Okay. Well, it's really, I thought it was a very unique way of being able to package something that really speaks to the experience of getting over someone that you love. Relationships are hard. They're very difficult to end, because when you end a relationship, it's almost like part of you is dying, but I think sometimes it can be more difficult for people. I think it can be difficult because that person is still here. It's not like you buried them and then you moved on, so maybe when I think about like the journal, which I think about it like as a way to kind of be able to deal with the loss and then heal from the loss. Would you say?
Absolutely. Because I grieved the relationship, and you're going to go through a grieving process. I can look back and say, oh my God, he was this, he was that, he was this, but I spent 8 years with him. You're going to go through a grieving process. And if you're not careful through that grieving process, you may just run right back to that person, because it's like, oh my God, I'm just so sad, or whatever the case may be. So it definitely was a grieving process, but the reason why the journal is formatted the way that it is, because I needed something that spoke in my language. You know how some journals are just so black and white, and they're just so typical, and they're like, oh, write your feelings down and do nothing about it. I just want you to feel better because you wrote it down. I didn't want to be like that. I wanted it to really get to the nitty gritty of what was going on and actually help and escape. I didn't just want people to write their feelings. I used to write all the time and stayed in the relationship. You need more than that.
Right. Definitely. We all need more than that, when it comes to being able to move through a breakup. So what advice would you give to someone who may be going to maybe listen to this episode and maybe going through a difficult or rough breakup right now?
I would say the number one piece of advice, I probably could talk all day and just give women all the advice in the world, but I think the most important thing at this point is to be selfish with you and put yourself first. I think women hear that all the time, and I think they're swallowing that, but they're not actually digesting what that truly means. Nobody is going to care for you the way that you're going to care for you. And I feel as though if you get yourself to a point where you're loving on you, you're gonna face a couple of doors, right? And if what's behind that door doesn't feel as good as what you give yourself, I think it's easier for you to close that door at that point. So I just say, get to a space where you could just be so selfish and be so for you that you do not allow people to mistreat you or just do anything that you wouldn't do to yourself. You wouldn't hit yourself. You wouldn't lie to you. You wouldn't do a lot of things.
Right.
I think that we have to get to that point where we're just putting ourselves first and not wavering on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people struggle with being selfish with their time, with their energy, because we're taught, you should be accommodating, you should do that. And it's not to say that you shouldn't make changes, but you have to always take care of yourself first and foremost before others.
Oh, yeah.
Can't pour from an empty cup. That's what a lot of us try to do. And I think that causes a lot of us to, unfortunately, sometimes end up stuck in places that we shouldn't be because we made decisions that served others more than they served ourselves. So
exactly. And I'd also tell them, take a leap of faith of being alone. I have the most fun now being by myself. I used to be afraid of being alone. And I think that's another reason why I stayed in the relationship as long as I did. But I found myself driving in my car the other day and a song was on and I'm just like, doing all the hand gestures and stuff. And I was like, wait, I'm having fun by myself. This is not bad.
Yes.
So I think if they jump past that fear of being alone too, I'm telling you, it's really not that bad. You walk in the house quiet. You got to worry about somebody moving your stuff or defending yourself in there, raising your voice.
Right.
Y'all get to the point where y'all get in that space. Be alone, take some time to grow, but put yourself first. Ultimately, that's number one. Even my son knows that there's times where it's just me. It's me time right now. And at 13, I've shown him what that looks like. And that is totally okay that you don't have to say the word mommy from this time to that time. You actually don't have a choice because like I'm putting myself first. So we just have to get to that point where, baby, there is nobody who's going to love you the way that you love yourself. And if you are looking for that love externally, it's probably not going to happen. Not going to happen until you love yourself at that capacity.
Yeah. Is that something that is explored in the journal? That journey back to loving yourself?
Absolutely. All of that stuff was very, very important. But after years of being with him, honestly, I used to look in the mirror and not even love what I see anymore. I can't even say walk. I had to crawl back to that space of loving me because that itself was another journey. I think you have multiple journeys within this main journey of living the person. So I definitely had to get to a point where I loved myself again, because even with that, when you don't, you find yourself allowing people to mistreat you.
Exactly. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that, and that's not personally and professionally. I have a friend right now who's going through a really tough breakup. And I actually just sent her your journal information before this.
Okay.
Because I was like, look, listen, you need to get this because really fuck him. I mean, I know it's F him, but we curse on this podcast. So it's really that.
That's why I was saying F him, because I wasn't sure if you cursed, but you see the title clearly says fuck him for sure.
Yes, absolutely. But like getting to that point, like I think what you said last really resonated with me, and I think it'll resonate with a lot of women, is that fear of being alone, not wanting to start over, not wanting to not have someone to hold space for you. But if someone is not treating you correctly, are they truly holding space, or are they just a placeholder?
Right, exactly. Exactly. When I tell you, I kid you not, I still have an air mattress right now because I can go out and get another bed now that I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? But it's something about that statement to me, like, here, you really left. You know what I'm saying? I am so proud of you. I literally, I had to leave with nothing. I left to go to another state with literally 2 baskets of clothes. 2 baskets of clothes. So many women are just like, I don't want to do it. And they've been with the person for so long, but I had to really ask myself, like you said, this person's not treating me right. So I might as well just be by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's weigh this thing out. He wasn't the one, and he wasn't going to change. It didn't matter how many times I cried. It didn't matter how many times I, accepted his apologies. There was no changed behavior behind his apologies. And that's how you know a person is being manipulative, and they're just doing what's necessary to keep you there, but they don't actually love you. So get to the point where you love yourself.
Right.
You say fuck him, and then that's that.
Yes, absolutely. Fuck him. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say it. So
you have to say fuck him.
Yeah. So for you, I mean, obviously the title of this episode of the podcast is Self-Aware and Effed Up. I mean, I know that we've kind of talked about a situation where you got self-aware about something that was going on in your life and you made an exit strategy. How else do you connect with the idea of being self-aware and effed up?
I think I'm not perfect, so I can know that there's a lot of things that I have done that led me into these crazy situations. But with me being human, right? I know that I'm probably, you know, I'm not walking a straight line. I meet people all the time and it takes me a second to realize what's taking place or like catch myself like, hold on, Kiara, we came a long way, girl. We're not dealing with this. You know, I'm human. I'm super, super human. And also I did a lot of reacting. I had 2 mugshots before. You know what I'm saying? Like I went through the situations. It wasn't perfection. It wasn't just one day I woke up and said, I'm aware of what's going on. I know what role I'm playing with it. I'm just gone. No, baby, I've went there. I went left a couple of times. So being self-aware and still being fucked up, it's just understanding that you're still human and everything is a journey. And a lot of people think about the end and what they're trying to accomplish, not realizing during that journey is a journey, right? Sometimes you go left, sometimes you go right, sometimes you stand still. You may, you know, unfortunately even go backwards a little bit. That's what it is. Like I'm aware that I should be going straight, but I see that I veered off to the left a little bit.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think we all have those moments though, like where we can see the bigger picture, we can see what we're doing wrong, but what we're doing wrong feels right in the moment. And you know, like
absolutely.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, but we still, you know, find ourselves doing that until we get to that point where we really have to question ourselves and really have to figure out, is what we're doing working? And if it's not, in those moments, we then have to make a decision to make a change, you know, as it relates to that. And so, yeah.
Yep.
So you definitely are inspiring change for countless amount of people, you know, out there, women, you know, specifically, but you're definitely making some, you know, some changes and an impact. So in continuing to kind of make that impact, how can people connect with you if they want to purchase your items, if they want to connect with you on social media? How can they get in contact with you?
So everything is at the FM Co. The website is thefmco.com. But I'm normally on TikTok, but I have an Instagram and a Twitter at the FM Co. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can also email me at Kiara at the FM Co. Everybody on my email list knows that I have an open door policy. I don't care if you purchased a journal or you didn't. You can contact me via email at any time, ask me for advice, down my phone number. Let me talk you through a situation. I am an open door person because I wish I had someone to email or to call at my lowest moments or when I didn't think that I could leave a situation. So they can email me, Kiara at the FM Co, or go to my website, thefmco.com, find me on TikTok. However you want to reach me, I'm definitely open.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. I know this episode was a challenge for us to get through, but I'm so glad we got through it. And you are definitely going to help a lot of people that need to kind of heal. And, you know, to me, this episode was very personal because, as I shared, I'm not going through a breakup. I'm not going through a breakup right now, but my friend is, and kind of helping her through this has been, you know, interesting. And so it's kind of like, it was definitely an on-time episode for me. So I'm hoping that also resonates with the audience as well. In terms of, you know, connecting with you guys, please make sure that you follow her, connect with her, purchase the journal. I promise you, you guys, like, it's just seeing your journey over the last couple of weeks since we've been connected, and, you know, the sales every day booming, like you are really like making a lot of change and a lot of influence. And I definitely pray that that continues for your business. So guys, please connect with her. And also be sure to follow me, Treaty LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Treaty LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health. Peace, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.